Hey, everybody, and hello. This is Hurdy Burke. I am with the Hurdy Burke Broadcast Network, and tonight we have what we're calling a new show we launched with Danielle Smith called the Power Hour. This Power Hour is brought to you by the Business Warriors Mastermind, and to tell you a little bit about that quickly, that is going to be a class that starts on June the 20th, which is Tuesday, and this is being run by yours truly, myself. It will be a year-long program that we meet 2 hours a month, which is going to dive into deeper tools for social networking. And if you want more information about that, I'm going to ask you to write this down. On Facebook, go to Hurdy Burke Consulting, and let me spell my name. It's Hurdie. Last name is Burke, B-U-R-K, Consulting, and like my business page, and you'll see information posted there. Danny, jump in, my friend.
Yes, sir. Welcome, everyone, to the Hurdy Burke Broadcast Network Power Hour. We're going to cover today what I think is the most important law of growth. Now, I might think different next week or next month. I would say that a year ago it was the law of reflection that I thought was most important. But today, and with some challenges I've been going through, and particularly what I've been finding out about, what I've learned about men and women as they get older and their logical thinking, and how their logical thinking is too many times not serving them well, the law of environment has become very, very important to me, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. So as I said, thanks everyone for listening. Those on recording, those of you who are live, if you want to ask a question, hit *6 on your phone's keypad. I'll be watching that monitor every once in a while. It's kind of like a digital hand raise. Raise your hand by hitting *6, and I'll bring you into the call. As I said before, this law is from John Maxwell's book, The 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. This is one of the top 5 most important books outside of the Bible. I undoubtedly go to this book more than any other book on my shelf, and that's right there is one of my bookshelves. There's a lot of books up there. I probably go to this book more than I go to Stephen Covey's Speed of Trust or John's 21 Valuable Laws of Leadership. Just a little bit more about how much I like this book. I have run 15 8-week masterminds around this book over the last 4 years. Had 165 people go through masterminds with me around this book. And the law of environment, like I said, right now is what I think the most important law as it comes to our growth. We'll get into more of that later. And let me back up. If you have a question about this, anything else you've heard me talk about, this episode 1 of the Power Hour is something we're testing this with these lessons. What makes this most important, though, is some interaction we're expecting to have as we do this every week. If you have questions, raise your hand, post it on the Facebook. We'll get better about this each week as we go. We tweak our technology and just move through this. So I'm going to jump in. John wrote this book in 2012. This past September, he also came out with a book called No Limits. Got here somewhere. It's actually No Limits Blows the Cap Off of Your Capacity. as I was putting together my notes for the call, I thought about that book. Now, I just read that book. I finished it about 2 weeks ago. Right before that, I read John's book on intentional living. So, intentional living, no limits, blow the cap off of your capacity. And I'm sorry, it's actually the subtitle of that book is, that's it, blow the cap off of your capacity. But in chapter 18, he focuses on the law of environment. He says that in your growth capacity, it's your choice to focus on how far you can go. And it is a choice. No matter what age, it is a choice. As we get older, though, the part of our brain that thinks logically becomes more active. The part of our brain that wants more, dreams, is creative, even prays to God for more things, or to help people more, any type of creativity, that part of our brain diminishes. Now, I first read about that last year in a book called The Circle Maker by Mark Batterson, and it's a book about prayer, and he started talking about the scientific evidence about those two parts of our brain. I went and did some Google search, worked through that, and it comes right back into some things that I know some of us on the call here have talked in the past in the empowerment mentoring training around our comfort zones and breaking through our comfort zones, and that a lot of us are stuck in a comfort zone that's not serving us well. That's a problem. And the older we get, I see a lot of people my age. I'm 62. I started realizing around about 55 that I was stuck in some thinking that I knew wasn't serving me well, but I was having trouble getting out of it. In the growth environment, or in the book, No Limits, and in chapter 18, here's 10 things, and I'll post this on the Facebook page later, but here are 10 things that John says, or there are 10 characteristics of a positive growth environment. Others are ahead of you. You're continually challenged. Your focus is forward. The atmosphere is affirming. You are out of your comfort zone. You wake up excited. Failure is not your enemy. Others around you are growing. People around you desire change, and growth is modeled and expected. Kind of like, are you kidding me, John? Nobody lives in that. And, it's not true. I'm part of the John Maxwell team. I've got access to a couple of Facebook sites that talk about this, and it's incredible how people have put themselves in that environment. So anyway, that's off script from what I was originally going to talk about. Thought about this last night, added it to my notes. So let's get started on the handout. The handout is on the Facebook page. I will have a sign-up. Thought about this a few minutes ago, Hurdy. I will have a sign-up. People can sign up where I will send them out the handout ahead of time every week. But we'll also be putting it on the Facebook page. If you don't have it, you can go there later and get it. But under the law environment, John talked about growth is, sorry, I found my book, that growth thrives in conducive environments. Go back to those notes that John has put in. Now he wrote this book we're talking about, The Law of Environment, in 2012. In 2016, he comes out with a book every year, and he really picked that up. He turned 70 this year, and he's putting out more books than he's ever put out. I'm off subject here. By the way, Hurdy and I talked. Hurdy said, "There's no way you're going to get through all these notes." And I said, "Okay, we'll pick it back up next week." But I think this is really, really important. And those of you who are on the call, you're here for a reason. I'm here to assist, to help. And so John for 40 years has been taking notes about leadership, taking notes about growth, taking notes about change, and he has he's given all those notes away. He did that about a year and a half ago, and he's writing purely from his own thoughts, his own instincts, and I think his writing has gotten much better. What he's sharing is incredible. So anyway, right here in the handout, right off the bat, he said it's time for a change. If you're always at the head of the class, then you're in the wrong class. You have to ask yourself, do you like where you're at? Do you like where you're going? If not, you have to change. And what will get you where you want to go is not the same as got you where you're at right now. Zig Ziglar said in his book, or actually it wasn't in a book, it was in a book, he was at the top, it's one of his mainstays, that you're going to be the same. I'm going to be the same 5 years from today as I am today, except for what I listen to, what I watch, what I read, and who I hang out with. I'm the exact same today as I was 5 years ago, except for what I read, watch, who I hang out with, and what I listen to. He went on to explain that if I wanted things, and this was in 1990, that he told me this, that I'm going to be just in 1995, I was going to be exactly the same, except for those 5 characteristics. He went on to explain that if I wanted things to be different, I needed to be different. And to be different, I needed to change what I was listening to, what reading, and who I was associated with. It's pretty simple. I remember back then, I was already doing some pretty good reading. I had some tapes I listened to. I listened to some of his tapes. I was listening to a couple other guys, but I really started picking that up. I was in an organization where I got a tape of the month from them. Tape of the week and a book of the month. And I just started pouring myself into more tapes, more books. I didn't watch a lot. I watch more TV now than I did back then, though that's changing again. I remember there was a point back in around 89, 90, 91, I literally would unplug the TV and take up the TV cord. Tell a couple of stories around the house about that. But the difference for me between 1995 and 1990 was incredible difference. My brother used to say that I was rude, crude, and socially unacceptable. Most people that knew me said the same thing. By 1995, 2000, my brother might still think that, but I think most people have changed their minds about that. I hope that they have. It was only because of what I was reading, what I was listening to, what I was watching. I was purposely putting myself into better environments. That's what we're talking about here, right? So number one was it's time for a change. Number two, change dependent on choices. When we make choices to either stay where we're at or make choices to change. That's part of that comfort zone thing. Maybe another call. We have to assess our environment. Think about this. What music lifts you up? What ideas move you? Experiences. What experiences do you have that give you energy? What friends encourage you? This is not in the notes that I gave you in the handout, but what friends suck the energy out of you? Uh-huh. Now, I'm not saying, by the way, if anybody wants to text me at 512-773-6562. That's the phone that I'm using right now. 773-6562 if anybody needs to text me. Let me say something about the friends. Let me say something right now. I'm not saying you dump friends. I'm not saying you dump family members. I'm not saying you get a divorce. What I am saying is that, and what we're going to talk about maybe tonight, maybe in another call, we'll definitely expound on if anybody wants to, but It's how we contribute to people that suck the life out of us. I mean, if somebody's sucking the life out of you, just
get away from them.
You just need to do something. You need to respond to them differently, and we can talk about that. That's a whole lesson out of the law of the inner circle. Recreation. What activities give you energy? What spiritual exercises strengthen you? What dreams inspire you? What blessings have you had that literally, John calls it, these are John's words, what blessings activate you? What memories make you smile, and what books have you read that changes you? So, assess your environment. Assess where you're at, what you're doing. Now, you can't be in a perfect growth environment. Nobody is. John, I would tell you, he's not in a perfect growth environment. He's many times in an environment that he's just doing his best to get by. So be responsible for your change. Change yourself and your environment. Here's the thing. You change yourself but not your environment, growth will be slow and difficult. You change your environment but not yourself, growth will be slow but less difficult. Change your environment and yourself, growth will be faster and more successful. Understand, though, that most people are not interested in actual growing. Now, this is about you changing, not anybody else changing, folks. I can't make anybody else change. I can encourage them, but I don't want to be nagging them. There's a big difference. This is about, as I'm reading this, and maybe I should be reading it in the first person like it's written, this is about what nourishes, this is about me, and this is a focus on me. This is not the focus on anyone else. As you consider your environment, John says, ask three critical questions. Who nourishes me? What keeps me alive? What sustains me? So who nourishes me? Who do you have that nourishes you? What is it that keeps you alive? And then what sustains you? Three different, we go down three different paths there, but moving on. One of John's original mentors, as Elmer Towns says, the way you get to a poker hot is to get it next to the flame. So if you've got somebody that's contentious and sucking the energy out of you, and that's in a lot of drama, you're in a lot of drama. You're getting hot in that way. You have somebody though that's positive and upbeat. You're the same. When you pile some charcoal together to light a fire, and one rolls off to the side, and it's burning at first, but it goes out, and everything else burns up, right? Well, that one's just sitting over there because it's not up against the rest of them. It doesn't stay heated. So, change the people you spend time with. Most of us need to do that in some form or fashion, if not in a big way, at least in a small way. We're the combined average of the 5 people we hang out with the most. Herdy, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that that's truly important, that you find the people to associate with that are, I even look for folks that are above my level, but also are great influencers. And so I'm really picky about my influencer group. Absolutely.
You know, I like here in Austin, actually here in Cedar Park, we have a place called T-Works, and it's a community working space. And I love going up there because those people that sit out in those community tables, it's uplifting. It's fun. I go in there and I look forward to it. I go in there and I get energized. I have this thing that I try to do every day called First and 10. And something I learned from a man named Michael Mayer in his book 7L is that first thing in the morning I call first thing. Now my first thing's real early. By the time I start the First and 10, I'm ready for a nap. But because it wouldn't do good to me calling 4:30, 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, First and 10 starts at 9. And I love being at T-Works doing my First and 10 calls. That's 10 calls I'm going to make during the day. And I love making them there because I can go into one of those enclosed phone booth things, make a couple of recalls, come out, mess around with you, Herdy, or Brian Hanson, or Jason or Jeff or somebody, Jesse, and go back in again. And because you going out there, I get energized from that. But that was one of the things as I was moving into moving out of the management role back into the pure loan officer role in that sales and marketing. I need to be around people. I need to be around more people, but I also know that I can't get into an office and be around a bunch of other mortgage guys. So hence the deal at T-Works. Change the people that you're around. Out of the notes here, do you have someone in your circle of friends who will hold you accountable for your growth? Big thing here, everyone. Big thing. Now, an accountability partner isn't somebody to wear you out. An accountability partner isn't somebody to whip up on you verbally or physically. But accountability partner isn't somebody to crack the whip, anything like that. That's not what accountability is about. There's a great book, QBQ, The Question Behind the Question, by John G. Miller, about accountability. But here's an accountability partner.
So, Danny,
partner.
what is the difference between accountability and advice?
Big. They're two totally different things. Great question. And I ask you for advice. That's one thing. Herdy, I need some advice. Accountability is I've given you permission to ask me questions.
All right.
Now, in the notes, I don't have, just thought about something that I use, and I don't have it here. So the note says, love you unconditionally. The person that's holding you accountable, that's the person not holding you accountable, bad term. Accountability partner is someone that loves you unconditionally, desires your success, is mature, asks you agreed upon questions, and helps you when you need help. Now, you might be my accountability partner, Herdy, and I might ask you for advice. But you, as a good accountability partner, you would not give me advice unless I asked for it. And literally, I would give you questions for you to ask me if we were going to meet once a week or every day.
Mm-hmm.
Richard Bellius has been my accountability partner at times. And I've never given him a list. He knows how it works. So and there have been times where I've engaged him to do a book in calls with me. He does a call with me sometime in the morning and a book in call after 4 o'clock in the afternoon. The morning, what are you going to do today? I give him a list of what I'm going to do today. He calls me in the evening. What did you get done today? Okay. What caused you not to get number 3, 4, and 5 done? What caused you not to get any of them done? he is not judging me. I told him, ask me those questions, but he knows to keep the judgment out of it. If I think he's going to judge me, I'm not going to answer a stinking call. I've had a bad day. I'm not going to answer. I'm not going to. A lot of accountability is to remind us of what we said we were going to do. We could look in the mirror and do that, but having a friend, having an accountability partner, having a paid accountability partner. I know plenty of coaches. They get paid an incredible amount of money, and all they do is do this right here, and they're not judgmental. So you can add in your notes. Remember this: if you pull down this script later or this handout later, accountability partner is non-judgmental. So you change yourself in your new environment. So, and this part here, and you get the book, The 15 Valuable Laws of Growth. Guys, I've got two of them that I know of. I thought I had more, but I've seen two today. One, the book that stays on my desk or on the bookshelf right behind me, and there's one in my truck. If you look in my truck, the passenger seat has 7, 8 books laying there, and one of them is the paperback of The 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. And I pick it up and look at it. Sometimes it's a good mentor for me to pick it up and kind of thumb through it and reflect on some things out of the book and how my day's going, what's happened with the week. But when learning from others around you, when you're at let me back up. We should always be trying to learn from others. I went to lunch with Trey Hertel today. And Trey is an old friend. We met out networking. I probably hadn't seen Trey in 6 to 9 months. And I'm there just to have a good talk with him, but also to learn from him. So I know a little bit. You go down through these questions here in the handout. You explore these questions with people. Know what their strengths are. Ask them what their strengths are. What are they learning now? What are they reading? Think about what do I need? A little mistyping here, but what do I need right now? What do I need right now that this person can help me with? And ask for help. And I'm not talking about just asking for referrals. That's a totally different. We earn referrals. A class that I'm retaking right now, books I've recently reread. Those of you know me, I don't ask for referrals. I give referrals. I earn referrals, and that causes me to attract referrals. And that's out of about 3 or 4 places. But Michael Mayer at 7L teaches it really well. Herdy's going to be using some of this stuff in the Business Warriors Mastermind. So number 6, who have they met? What have they read or what have they done that's helped them? Wasn't thinking about this right here, but that's one of the things that I was asking, Trey today, catching up. And so what have you been doing? So what's your biggest aha? What have you learned lately that's helped you? I didn't ask him this. I've asked before. This is a big one for John Maxwell when he meets with people. What have I not asked you that I should have asked you? Boy, that powerful or what?
That beats how's the weather?
Yeah, exactly. So, focus on the moment. Focus on the moment. The changes we want to make in our lives come only in the present. Boy, we live too much in the past. We're thinking too much out in the future. Now, I'm all about building myself out in front of my business. that's different than being present, being in the moment. My son's wife likes to say to him, first time she said it, I stopped whatever we did. I said, what did you just say? And she kind of looked at me kind of like, uh-oh, did I get in trouble here? I said, no, I loved it. What did you just say? And she said, Austin, be where you're at. Is that cool or what? Be where you're at. And Kathy, my wife, has used that on me a few times. Thank you very much, Amy. And I'm on the phone, or I'm, we're supposed to be going out, and all of a sudden I get a text, or I get this, and I'm responding, be where you're at. What we do now controls who we become and where we are in the future. Yeah, I love this one, and I struggle with this one. Typing up these notes yesterday, I struggled to even put this next one in there. There is nothing about your past that determines your future. I go, really, Danny? Really? Really? Come on. You don't want to put that in there. John, really, you don't understand, John. I can't believe you wrote this, but there's nothing about your past that determines your future. Yeah, if you're in an industry where you've done something in the past, like I am, or a financial planner, or a real estate agent, you've done something. You have to have a license. You've done something in the past, and okay, yeah, I get it, but it doesn't have anything else it doesn't have anything to do with your growth and you getting where you want to go.
So, Danny, if you're living in the present moment, I'm understanding that helps you push forward. So if you're pushing forward, that determines your future. So you're not sitting in your past. Is that what you meant by that you're so busy in the moment you're in that isn't influenced by your past? Is that the understanding that you're trying to convey?
I want you to repeat that one more time. You kind of looped, not looped up digitally, but the words you were using, you kind of conflicted yourself. So I want to make you.
All right. Well, I do that often, so that's excusable. What I'm asking is, if you're in the moment, if you're in the present, you're living that way, then that determines your future as opposed to being stuck or staying in the past, right?
Yeah.
Okay. He's making fun of me, y'all. Don't worry about it. It's good.
Yeah.
I'm trying. Let me word it this way: if you're running a race, 100-yard dash, and you're constantly stretching to try to beat the guy to the tape, you're not having time to think about your past. You're pushing toward the future.
Heard it. That's beautiful.
Well, thank you.
That right there was beautiful. If you started focusing on the past and you turn, I love that analogy. If you turned around and started running backwards, what would happen?
If you give me,
you'd be looking behind you, but you start losing the race.
Right. Okay.
Make a note of all that. That was a great analogy there, Hurdy.
Thank you, sir. My dyslexic self always figures it out.
Had lunch with somebody a while back, and they were talking about their 62-year-old in-laws. Now, that was me. I'm 62. I wasn't the in-laws they were talking about, but I'm 62. And he started realizing that as we're talking. But I'm sorry. These were 68-year-olds. But anyway, they talk about in retirement, they can't quit talking about the past, and they're deteriorating. They are how many people we know that retire and then die? First guy I saw do that was an old mentor of mine. His name was Doyle Gillum in the marine business, owned a marine store and a big boat dealer and Mercury and Skeeter bass boats and all this type stuff. And worked his tail off, sold his business. It was at 30 more days. There was a period where the owners were in there running it with him every day. And the first Saturday he didn't go in. It was agreed that he would. This is back in the late 70s. No cell phones. He didn't go into the office that morning. And Doyle he died of a heart attack, 10 o'clock on Saturday morning. We hear about it all the time because we're hung up in the past. We're hung up, I believe, in our logical thinking. By the way, that book again, Mark Batterson's the author, Circle Maker, incredible book. So anyway, right now is the most important time in your life. Boy, John has a lot to say about that. He has a lot to say about it. John was 62, moved from Atlanta down into Florida, had sold his company, the John Maxwell Company. Somebody else was running it. John was under contract to continue to make appearances and do certain types of training and all. And he was winding it down. Going to spend more time with his kids and grandkids. He said he wasn't sure how excited they were about it, but wasn't sure what he's going to be doing. And he got approached by a friend of his, Scott Fay, and introduced him a man named Paul Martinelli. And they launched 2 years later, when John was 64, they launched the John Maxwell team. And John's written about 7 books since then, has influenced an incredible number of men and women all around the world. They've got something like 13,000 John Maxwell team members in 54 countries now. And he said that he had to decide, is right now the most important time in my life? And that's what we've got to decide. Or we should. We don't have to. We don't have to do anything. What as my chief told me in the Navy years ago, we don't have to do anything except listen to the captain, obey the captain, die and pay taxes, stuff like that. Anyway, background noise somewhere, but anyway, move forward despite criticism. Growth always comes from this is messed up in the notes. Growth always comes from taking action, and taking action will always bring criticism. There's always someone to tell you you are wrong. To reach your potential, you must do what others, even yourself, believe you can't do. Whole lesson here called the comfort zone. We could talk for the next hour about the comfort zone and breaking through your comfort zone. When you think you break through your comfort zone, you hit a thing that psychologists will call the terror barrier. That will you'll slam right up into it. Sometimes it's a physical illness. Sometimes it's there's just all kinds of things that happen and that will cause you to break through that terror barrier, or you fall back into your comfort zone, which is probably not serving you well. Let me just say right now, we can't get things that we want without changing. We can't get things that we've never had without changing. And even if we've had them in the past, we can't get them again because we're different today than we were in the past. Everything's different. And, John says in this book, thinking of the law of awareness, that he is more growth-minded than he is goal-minded. More growth-minded than he is goal-minded. He'll choose growth over goals. Goals you might get to, you might lose, your goal might be to lose 50 pounds. And you could starve yourself to death and lose 50 pounds, but then you're going to gain it right back. But growth is when you change, you lose weight through let's just say, eating less over a period of time. Train yourself to eat less and train yourself to move more. There's a difference between being growth and goal-minded. I don't know what made me think about all that. There's nothing in my notes there about it, but anyway, when you take charge of your life, you cease gaining permission from others to grow. You don't need, I don't need permission from others to grow. John says, a note for leaders. Leaders will always take responsibility for the growth of themselves and their organizations. So I'm going to wrap up here. We did get through all of that. I've been walking back and forth to the Facebook. Looking over there, not the Facebook, but to the dashboard. There's nothing on there. If anybody's got a question, hit *6 coming through the queue. I'm going to start winding down right here. John ends all of his lessons, not all of them, but many of his lessons with an application, how to apply something. And he does it with all the laws in the 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth book. But assess your environment in relationship to growth by answering true or false to these 10 statements. So are you in a growth environment? That's the thing. True or false? Others I'm around on a regular basis are ahead of me. If it's true, you're in a growth environment. Hopefully those people are spurring you on to grow. Not through their, any badgering or whips or whatever, but they're inspiring you to grow. What is it Michael Hyatt says? That if we spend much time together and you don't change, it's only entertainment. I'm only entertaining you. If we spend much time together and you don't grow, I think he says change, but I'm going to say grow, then I'm only entertaining you. A true leader inspires people to change, inspires people to grow. I've got that a little mixed up. You go to DanielleSmith.com and read that quote. In fact, you go to DanielleSmith.com and pull a lot of this off of there. But so, true or false? I'm continually in an environment where I'm challenged and engaging in the challenge. True or false? My focus is always forward. True or false? The atmosphere I project is affirming. Boy. True or false? I'm often out of my comfort zone.
False.
Somebody say false?
Yes.
I heard that.
I wake up excited. Oh my gosh. That's one of the ones I go, are you kidding me? And I woke up this morning going, I'm not excited. Then I thought, what if I was excited? Ask yourself that tomorrow morning. Wake up and decide if you're excited real quick. And if you're not excited, go, okay, what if I am excited? What if I was? What would I be acting like? It'll change you. I'm telling you, it will change your thought process. Okay? Failure is not my enemy. True or false? Got to be true. Got to be true. Got to make it true. Others around me are growing. True or false? People around me desire change. Growth is modeled and expected. Just because we're busy doesn't mean we're changing. Very likely, we're busy, business is great, and we're checking off. We set our 3 or 4 intentions, goals for the day, or targets for the day. We go check, check, check. I get that done. I get the numbers done. I make all my calls. I do all of my follow-ups. I look at all my loans and review everything. And I do that at the end of the day. I was just busy. Chances are that by itself. Well, I will say for me, it is 100% true that by itself, if I do that every day, at the end of the week, I'm wore out. At the end of the month, I've become more cynical, and I've taken a step backwards. That's going to start showing up in my business. We have to be forward-thinking. We have to be in a growth mode. We have to get fed. We have to be purposeful. We have to be listening to, reading. I have twice a day, I have a reminder comes up at 10 o'clock and at 3 o'clock. That reminds me, I'm a Christian, I'm a believer, it reminds me to pray. But along with that prayer is that I'm going to go pull something and read also. Might be for just 2 to 5 minutes. And that's what it was at 10 this morning. I kept hitting the snooze, to push it out 15 minutes, 30 minutes. Finally headed down to lunch down close to downtown. Had about a 30-minute drive, and I plugged in an Audible to listen to on the way down there. And this afternoon at 3 o'clock it went off. I stopped. I walked away from my computer, and I sat down, and I read something. And I prayed a little bit. I need that input to go along with all the life that's going on every day. So assess your personal growth needs, purpose, and people, put that there at the very end. Hardy?
Yes.
No, I don't see any questions. I'm going to walk back over to the Facebook page, be sure that they get any answers there.
I'm assuming that for a lot of people it'll take some time for them to jump into the queue. We were experimenting tonight, folks, with attempting to do the Facebook Live along with the call. What I will tell you, which is exciting, is I get to go back and pull this down and do some editing, and I'll be adding it to a YouTube channel, and I'll get the link to Danny to put back up for on demand. We encourage you, if you're on Facebook, to go to the Danny L. Smith Power Hour group page. Find it, search it. If you're not a member, it's open to the public. Just join. We'll have these shows posted there along with YouTube.